I want you to imagine something for a second.
Okay, lay it on me.
So picture yourself sitting in a dark room. It's like incredibly late at night. The whole house is completely quiet.
Right.
And you have this old, heavy analog radio sitting on the desk right in front of you.
Oh, I love those. With the physical dial.
Exactly, the physical tuning dial. And you're slowly dragging it past the static, past the late night talk shows, the automated pop stations.
Just kind of scanning the dead air.
Yeah, and then right in the dead space between frequencies, you catch this signal.
Okay.
And it's massive. It's drifting. It doesn't sound anything like a song.
Because it isn't one.
Right. It sounds like this complex, continuous transmission from like a machine consciousness.
Wow.
Like it's trying to communicate something deeply profound, but in a language you just don't quite speak yet.
That atmosphere, that feeling of stumbling onto something vast and completely alien in the middle of the night, that is exactly what we have to wrap our heads around today.
Yeah, it really is. Welcome to today's Deep Dive, everyone.
We are getting into some wild territory today.
We really are. We're immersing ourselves in a sprawling, just massive audio project titled Terminal Logic, Broken Transmissions from the Void.
What a title.
I know, right? We have a stack of source material here from its creator, an artist known simply as JJ.
And they released this through the TATANKA collective, which is an important detail we'll get into.
Definitely. We're looking at the liner notes, the actual creative prompts used to generate the audio, and the overarching project manifesto.
So we have the full blueprint.
Exactly. And our mission today is to explore this not as some passing internet novelty or, a quick AI gimmick.
Right, because it's not that at all.
No.
Yeah.
We're treating this as a seriously ambitious work of experimental art.
Because it demands to be treated that way.
It does. We want to understand its radically transparent DIY tech stack. And we really want to decipher what this massive, abrasive piece of audio actually says about the future of human and machine collaboration.
Well, if you're listening to this and wondering how you'd even begin to process something called terminal logic, the first step is to completely discard your typical expectations.
Yeah, throw them out the window.
Literally. You have to forget what an audio release is supposed to be. If you approach this expecting, an album, you will be profoundly confused.
And probably really frustrated.
Very frustrated. The creator explicitly states this is not a conventional album.
Yeah, JJ goes out of their way in the notes to warn the listener.
They do.
There are no melodies here to hum along to. There is no rhythm you can tap your foot to,
Not at all.
There are no song structures guiding you safely from a verse to a chorus. It doesn't exist here.
It functions entirely differently. It's really designed as a psychological environment.
That's a great way to put it.
It's an immersive, long-form installation piece. In fact, JJ uses the phrase sonic archaeology in the liner notes.
Sonic archaeology. I love that term so much.
It's crucial, right? Because it suggests that listening to this isn't about sitting back and being entertained.
No, not at all.
It's about active excavation. You are literally digging through thick layers of audio, trying to uncover something buried beneath all this noise.
And the imagery that phrase brings up is just incredibly vivid. As I was going through the notes and listening to the descriptions of these soundscapes, I kept picturing these desolate, cinematic sci-fi environments.
Oh, absolutely. Total Ridley Scott vibes.
Yes. You hear this implied narrative of, abandoned listening stations sitting out at the very edge of the solar system.
Just drifting out there.
Drifting satellites. Obsolete computer terminals flickering in some dark room. Failing transmissions.
And the strange, corrupted dreams of sleeping machines.
Yeah. It's like you've been dropped into a damaged, futuristic archive. You aren't walking in looking for a catchy hook.
No, you'd be in the wrong place.
You're wandering through the ruins of industrial decay, literally searching for artifacts of corrupted systems.
Well, and when you wander through an environment like that, you are essentially stepping into the void.
Right. Broken transmissions from the void.
Exactly. But we really need to clarify what the void actually means in the context of this specific project.
Because it's not what you'd expect.
It's not. The source material makes a very deliberate distinction here. When we typically hear the word void, especially alongside stuff like industrial decay or deep space, we instantly associate it with darkness.
Right, like emptiness,
Yeah.
total despair.
But in terminal logic, the void represents possibility. It represents mystery and the completely unexplored edges of human perception.
So it's not a dead end.
Not at all.
It's more like an open door, like an invitation to just step off the map.
Exactly. It's a space where new meaning simply hasn't been defined yet. It represents humanity trying to communicate with something entirely beyond itself.
Wow.
So all that noise, the static, the broken transmissions you hear throughout the piece, those aren't the sounds of failure.
They're the sounds of reaching out into the unknown.
Precisely.
But, okay, if the goal is to make the listener feel like they are physically reaching into the unknown, exploring this abandoned space, you obviously can't rush that experience.
No, you can't condense that into 3 minutes.
And that explains the sheer, staggering scale of this project.
The duration isn't just a container for the audio. The duration is central to the artwork itself.
We are talking about an exact runtime of 6 hours, 24 minutes, and 38 seconds.
It's just massive.
And just an unrelenting, massive wall of sound. And to understand how we even get 6.5 hours of this, we have to look at the exact text-to-music prompt that JJ used to birth this whole thing.
Yes, the prompt is fascinating.
I'm going to read this directly from the source. The prompt was, experimental noise collage, zero-tonality microtonal synth clusters.
Abrasive stuff.
Right, it goes on. Random modular oscillations, abrasive circuit bending sounds, non-consonant electronic textures, unpredictable sonic events. The soundtrack to a futuristic industrial void.
The artist is actively commanding the machine to strip away literally everything that makes music comfortable or familiar to the human ear.
They really are.
It is a brilliantly constructed prompt, precisely because of how confrontational those terms are.
Wait, before we move on, for anyone listening who isn't like a massive synth nerd or an audio engineer, we should probably translate some of that prompt.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It's very technical.
Because it's a very specific set of instructions. So zero tonality essentially means there is no musical key.
Right.
You aren't in C major or D minor. You're just in sound.
Pure texture.
And microtonal synth clusters means playing the frequencies that exist between the standard keys on a piano.
Which often sounds deeply unsettling to Western ears. We're not trained for it.
We really aren't. And circuit bending, that's when you literally take the back off a child's electronic toy, or like an old keyboard, and short-circuit the motherboard to make it glitch out and scream.
So JJ is asking an AI to simulate that chaotic, broken hardware sound. It's the simulation of physical decay. And then adding non-consonant electronic textures just reinforces that nothing is going to harmonize.
It's all going to clash.
The frequencies will create friction constantly.
Okay, I understand the artistic intent here, but I have to push back hard on this.
All right, let's hear it.
I read that prompt, and I look at that runtime over 6 hours of this, and I have to admit, that sounds like a punishment.
I mean, I get why you'd say that.
For a casual listener, 6 hours of zero tonality and abrasive circuit bending sounds hostile. It sounds incredibly alienating. Like, why not just make a cool 40-minute ambient record? Why put the listener through 6.5 hours of pure friction?
Well, it is hostile initially, but think about the difference between observing something and inhabiting something.
Okay.
A 40-minute record is an object you consume, right?
Sure.
A 6-hour piece of audio is an environment you have to live inside. JJ explicitly states that the runtime stretches beyond 6 hours to force a state of environmental listening.
So, treating the sound like weather. Like how you'd listen to a heavy rainstorm pounding against your roof, rather than how you listen to a pop song.
Precisely. You don't wait for a rainstorm to get to the chorus.
Oh, right, because there isn't one.
You just exist inside it. You let it wash over you. The duration of terminal logic is a deliberate abandonment of commercial expectations.
That you have to surrender to it.
Yes. If you only listen for 5 minutes, yes, it feels like a punishment. But if you allow yourself to stay within that psychological environment for an hour or 2 hours, something shifts in human psychology.
What happens?
The disorientation eventually becomes meaningful. Your brain is a master at subconscious pattern recognition. When it is starved of conventional melodies, it starts finding structure within the randomness.
Oh, wow. So you stop listening for the beat and you start feeling the shifting textures.
Exactly.
The lack of structure actually becomes liberating because it demands that you, the listener, become an active participant. You have to interpret the signal.
Let's give that a concrete shape. Imagine hitting hour 3 of this transmission.
Okay, I'm at hour 3.
You've been submerged in this abrasive, grinding noise, and suddenly the chaos drops out.
Vanishes.
The simulation of short-circuiting hardware fades, and you are left with this beautiful, sustained, microtonal hum. A low drone that sounds like a machine slowly exhaling.
Oh, I can picture that.
Because you endured the abrasive noise to get there, that drone feels like a profound emotional release.
Yeah, you wouldn't feel that relief in a normal 40-minute album.
Not at all. The contrast is what gives it emotional weight.
I really love that. You stop waiting to be entertained and you start collaborating with the sound.
Yes, collaborating.
You project your own emotional meaning onto these abstract machine-like textures. But, to make the listener actively collaborate with the sound, JJ had to do the exact same thing behind the scenes.
Oh, absolutely. The creative process is wild.
They weren't just sitting at a MIDI keyboard writing this music. They were collaborating with a whole suite of erratic AI tools to build it. And what fascinated me was how radically transparent they were about that process.
The transparency is arguably the most important philosophical pillar of the entire TATANKA project.
Yeah, they don't hide anything.
In an era where a lot of creators use AI to mimic human performance and then, desperately try to hide the digital seams so nobody knows an algorithm was involved.
Which happens all the time.
Constantly. But terminal logic does the exact opposite. They are leaving the seams completely exposed.
Let's look at the specific tech stack provided in the liner notes, because it reads like a blueprint for a new kind of underground art.
It really does.
At the very top of the list, intentionally placed first, is human. All caps.
Which is such a powerful statement.
It is. That's the primary engine. Then we have Google Flow Music, Claude.a, ChatGPT, Meta.ai, and perchance.org.
A massive stack of different neural networks.
Right. And all of this is being processed and assembled in a digital audio workstation called Audacity 4 Alpha.
An alpha build, no less.
Yeah. Running entirely on a Linux operating system, specifically.
By listing that stack so explicitly, JJ strips away any illusion of traditional authorship. There is no wizard behind the curtain pretending to be a solitary genius.
No.
But looking at that list, the interaction between those specific tools is what makes this so incredibly complex.
That's exactly where I got tripped up initially.
How so?
Because you hear AI music and you think of someone opening a single app, typing "make me a sad sci-fi song" and hitting a big button.
Right, the vending machine approach.
Exactly. But that's not what's happening here. Like, how do text-based AIs like ChatGPT or Claude even help build an audio collage? They don't generate sound.
That's a great question. Think of it like an architect and a builder.
Okay.
Claude, ChatGPT, and Meta.a are essentially the architects in this workflow. JJ likely used them to process the core concepts.
So they're brainstorming with the AI.
More like commanding it.
Yeah.
You feed the TATANKA manifesto into Claude, for example, and you say, generate 50 highly specific text-to-audio prompts that translate the feeling of industrial decay into sonic terms.
Oh, wow.
Then you bring in perchance.org, which is a platform for creating random text generators.
Okay, I've heard of that.
You use perchance to inject randomized variables into those 50 prompts, so the output is constantly shifting and completely unpredictable.
Oh, so the text AIs are building these erratic, shifting blueprints, and then those blueprints get fed into Google Flow Music, which acts as the actual audio generator engine.
Exactly. Flow Music takes those bizarre machine-generated prompts and attempts to render them into audio.
And it probably struggles with them.
Oh, definitely. And then finally, all of those raw, glitchy audio files are dumped into Audacity on a Linux machine, where the human sits down to sift through hours of generated chaos.
The analogy that kept coming to my mind as I visualized this workflow is that the AI here isn't some magical, sentient entity.
No, not at all.
It's more like a rogue modular synthesizer, or like an unpredictability engine.
I like that. Let's take that rogue synthesizer idea further.
Okay.
Mechanically, what you're doing with a modular synth is patching physical cables between different units.
Right.
You plug an oscillator into a filter, you turn a knob, and the machine feeds back something unexpected. It doesn't write the song for you, but it behaves in ways you can't entirely predict.
You are interacting with emergence.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
In this stack, JJ is basically patching Claude into Perchance and Perchance into Flow Music.
The AI expands the frontier of experimentation. It acts as a massive catalyst. But it is guided entirely by human intent.
Exactly. JJ remains the artistic visionary, the editor, and the curator.
They are sitting there in Audacity on an open source Ubuntu setup, which is incredibly fitting, by the way, using a community-built open source operating system to edit this.
It matches the whole ethos.
It really does. And they are chopping up the audio when they hear the sound glitch or when Flow Music misinterprets a prompt and a texture suddenly shifts in a way a human wouldn't naturally compose. JJ doesn't delete it.
Because that instability isn't a flaw.
Right. It's a deliberate artistic choice. It's the sound of the tool itself.
You know, In art history, this collaborative process closely resembles what we call aleatory art, or controlled chance operations.
Oh, interesting. Like who?
Think of avant-garde composers like John Cage in the 20th century. He used the I Ching, or literally rolled dice, to determine which musical notes to play.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, the artist sets up the parameters, invites randomness into the process, and then curates the results. JJ is doing the exact same thing here, but instead of dice, they are using vast neural networks as their unpredictability engine.
So the machine's misinterpretation of the prompt actually becomes part of the composition itself.
Exactly.
But if the machine's misinterpretation is the art, what does this all mean for the broader culture?
That is the big question.
Because this specific technical approach, this radical transparency about using AI to generate glitches, it isn't just about making strange noises in a dark room. It reflects a much broader philosophy about where art and society are heading.
It absolutely does. And this ties directly into the core beliefs of the TATANKA collective that released the project. The fundamental shift here is moving from a paradigm of competition to one of co-creation.
Co-creation over competition. That is a massive shift in the current narrative.
It really is.
Right now, so much of the cultural conversation around artificial intelligence is rooted in deep existential fear.
Yeah, it's very doom and gloom.
It's framed as humans versus machines. It's the anxiety of replacement, the fear that human artists are going to be automated out of existence.
And to be fair, those are valid economic fears.
Definitely.
But the TATANKA Manifesto, outlined in the liner notes, argues for a completely different philosophical approach to the technology. They advocate for coexistence and radical inclusion.
So leaning into it rather than fighting it.
Yes. They believe that artistic freedom and technological transparency have to go hand in hand. If you hide the tool, you are competing with it. But if you expose the tool, you can collaborate with it. And most importantly, they argue that diversity, meaning both human and artificial diversity interacting together, actually strengthens creativity rather than diluting it.
Meaning that a human collaborating with a whole suite of AI systems can open up artistic pathways that a human sitting in a solitary room simply might never reach.
Exactly.
The AI isn't replacing human creativity in this model. It's giving human creativity a new, complex language to speak.
That's a perfect way to phrase it.
It allows someone like JJ to build a 6-hour sonic environment that would probably take a single human lifetime to manually synthesize.
When you view terminal logic through that specific lens, you realize that the project is asking a profound, overarching question.
What's the question?
What happens when humans and intelligent machines stop trying to imitate the past and instead attempt to transmit something entirely new?
Man, that gave me chills when I read it in the notes.
It's a powerful thought.
We spend so much time and billions of dollars training AI to sound like the Beatles, or to write screenplays like Aaron Sorkin, or, to paint like Van Gogh.
Right, trying to perfectly replicate what's already been done.
We use this unprecedented, world-altering technology as a nostalgia machine just to regurgitate what we already know.
And it's very safe.
But JJ and TATANKA are saying, let's stop looking backward. Let's look out into the void.
Let's see what's out there.
Let's see what new emotional landscapes we can discover if we just let the machine be a machine and let the human act as the guide.
And that search for the new is where the deep emotional resonance of the project ultimately lies.
Yeah, the emotion is definitely in there.
Underneath all the mechanical distortion, underneath the fragmented non-consonant noise and that drifting 6-hour runtime, there is an incredibly human search for connection.
Which is so ironic considering how mechanical it sounds.
Right, the isolation you might feel when listening to those 6 hours of abrasive sound is really just a reflection of our own modern isolation.
Yet we are surrounded by an overwhelming tide of technological noise every single day. Algorithms, notifications, infinite feeds.
We're swimming in it?
Terminal logic takes that noise, amplifies it, stretches it out, and asks us to find the beauty hiding inside it.
It's taking the very thing that alienates us, the chaos of digital information, and turning it into a canvas.
It forces you to actively listen to the chaos until you understand its underlying logic, terminal logic.
Which is exactly why it functions as a transmission rather than a song.
Because a song is a closed statement.
Right, but a transmission is an open attempt to connect across a vast, dark distance. Even if the signal is broken, even if it's corrupted by the void it had to travel through, the attempt itself is profoundly human.
I love that. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to bring this all back to you listening right now.
Yeah, why should you care?
Exactly. Why does a 6.5-hour abrasive noise collage made on open source Linux software actually matter to you?
It's a fair question.
It matters because it challenges us to fundamentally reframe our relationship with the technology that surrounds us. It asks us to look at our screens, our algorithms, and our AI tools, not as overwhelming forces to be feared or as like magical replacements for human effort.
But as evolving instruments.
Yes, evolving instruments. They are wild, unpredictable instruments capable of generating entirely new languages of expression, provided we have the courage and the vision to guide them.
It reminds us that the tools are only ever as interesting as the human intent behind them. The void is only empty if we choose not to fill it.
That's exactly it. So think back to that image we started with.
The radio dial.
You're in that dark room. You're turning the dial on that heavy analog radio, listening to the static, just waiting for a signal from the unknown to break through. Terminal logic proves that if a human can collaborate with a machine to extract deep emotional resonance and strange beauty from the simulated noise of a corrupted deep space transmission.
It leaves you wondering.
It really does. What unexplored emotional landscapes are sitting dormant in your own everyday tools right now, just waiting for the right prompt